Hey guys, another video for you here. This one's a bit different. It's going to be about customizing your user interface. Okay, and so you may be wondering why we do a video about this, but it can really help us work more quickly and efficiently when we have common tools that we use frequently, not stuck behind multiple menus. Okay, and a very common one that I use a lot are these axis tools, whether it's axis, center, center axis 2, center parent 2, among others. Okay, and so you'll notice in my drop down here, I actually have a user defined startup layout that I can switch and show you guys. Okay, now this is actually a 2 monitor layout, and so we're only seeing 1 monitor here. Okay, and I'll drag the other one over, the other window over in a second, so you can see it a bit better. But I've kind of modified the size of my perspective view. I personally use Octane at the moment. I've added my Octane node editor here, and I have enough flexibility to where I can kind of resize this as needed. I've changed the size of my material editor because I work frequently on projects that have lots of material, so I want a lot of room down here. I've also added, a lot of the Octane material buttons right here, so I don't have to go and hunt for those. Okay. I've also added some other, objects that I use frequently up here. In my second window, okay, you'll see I have my object manager. And I've added a lot of those axis buttons that I was just mentioning to you. Okay, I also added the solo buttons here because I do frequently use those, and because I select most of my objects here in my object manager, it's very efficient for me to just come up here and solo, come up here, center the axis, do whatever I need to do. Okay, I've also kind of organized a few windows here that I use frequently. So this live viewer is kind of Octane's picture viewer. Okay, so I have that so I can see my renders. I've also added my timeline, so that's always visible and very large. And I also added my picture viewer because I do also render to there frequently as well. Okay, so a lot of customization there, and we're going to see how we can start to do some of that stuff. So I'll switch back to the standard startup layout here. Okay, and let's say we want to make a custom palette with some of those axis buttons. Okay, what we need to do is go Window, Customization, and start by creating a new palette. All right, here's our new palette. Once we've done that, what we need to do is go back to that Window menu, back to Customization, and say Customize Palettes. And here we can search for any commands we want. And so if I just type in the word axis, you'll see I get a lot of them in here. Here's axis center, center axis 2, okay? And so I can just take these and drag them where I want. So there's axis center, let's do center axis 2, and let's just type in parent and center parent 2, because really I think those are the three I use the most. Once I'm done adding buttons to this palette, I can go ahead and close it. And now I can place this palette wherever I want. And I want to click on this kind of row of dots here. And you can see as you kind of drag around, you have a lot of different places you can put this. Okay, I personally think it makes sense to put these types of tools close to the object manager. And so I'll place them right up here on top. Okay, and then lastly, what we can do is change this icon size. So if we right click, you can come over here to icon size and switch them to whatever size you prefer. Okay, medium, small, all right, whatever you like. I think the medium works pretty good for me, but whatever you think will work best for you. All right, once we are done customizing the user interface, we do need to go ahead and save it. Okay, to do that, we go Window, Customization, all right, and we need to find the layout options here. If you want to save it as the startup layout, the layout that will open every time you start Cinema 4D, then choose to save it as your startup layout. If maybe you made a custom palette for modeling or some other kind of purpose, you can save that layout out, give it its own unique name, and it will show up in your layout drop down here. Okay, one last thing I want to show you guys is how we can dock windows and create kind of what I had on my second monitor where it was the live viewer, the picture viewer, as well as the timeline. Okay, so I'll open up my render settings, and what we can do here is take kind of this hamburger menu icon. I'm going to drag that and drop it onto the same looking icon above my perspective view. And when I do that, I'm going to get kind of a tabbed layout now. Okay. And so I think that's a great place to put our render settings. I also like to put our picture viewer there, especially if we're working on one monitor. If we're working with multiple monitors, this maybe isn't quite as necessary, but for a single monitor, I think it can be very useful. This picture viewer can often get lost and minimized, and you can end up opening multiple picture viewers. So I think it's another great window just to kind of add here for a tabbed layout. So you can see now I have my perspective view, my render settings, my picture viewer, and now that I've done all this, if I'm happy with everything, I can go back to Window, Customization, and save this layout, whether it's Startup or something else entirely. Okay?